And now moving ahead to enlighten us about the accelerating project delivery through digitalization, I have the privilege in inviting Mr. Kalyan Vaidyanathan, Director of Business Development, Bentley Systems. He has nearly 25 years of combined experience in managing construction projects and enterprise software development, has won many awards, and also has published widely. He has published widely on modern construction technology and the recent co-authored chapter on cloud-based collaboration and project management in the Construction 4.0 book. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Vaidyanathan.
So the post-lunch session is always a challenging one because I have the tough assignment of making sure that you don't fall asleep over the next, 12 minutes. And after that very informative and very sort of interactive morning session, that's a tough act to follow, but I will do my best. So accelerating project delivery through digitalization, right? So in an attempt to wake you up, if I were to show you this, what comes to mind? Fill the glass, okay? Anybody else? So, Ada, okay, half and half. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so yeah, so you can say, is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? Is the glass? So, but the realist in me is asking, is the glass twice the size of it needs to be? Or is the water half the amount of that I need to have? Right? So the question I'm really asking is, what are we after, right? All of us talk a lot about, projects being delayed, time and cost overruns, digitalization and its value of technology. And a lot of this news comes up about delays in cost and time and cost overruns. The reasons have been well studied to the point wherein it has sort of pak gaya, if you know what I mean by that, right? So we've heard enough of this. So the question is, why? Why is it that all of this is there? And what is so, if you want to kind of delve deeper, question ourselves, and maybe be a little more open and honest with assessing our root causes, one of the things I say is if you look at infrastructure projects at a high level, it's somewhat tantalizingly simple. You're looking to engineer an asset, you're looking to procure some materials and services for it. Of course, you're looking to execute it in a time-bound manner and deliver it during the CapEx phase so that you can operate it efficiently in the OpEx phase, which is where you start getting a lot of the ROI. Right? And now, depending upon which stakeholder you are, an owner, operator, design consultant, etc., your incentives of making this happen might slightly vary. But if you dig into the details a little bit, you will see that if you're looking to accelerate project delivery, the first thing you need to understand is that engineering that happens with a number of different stakeholders who sort of come together to make that work, some in-source, some outsourced, and they use a sort of design analysis tool to actually make this work. Today, starting to probably put it together in 3D models, etc. And as the case may be, while some of that engineering is going on, procurement activity starts, a newer set of processes come into play, a newer set of technologies come into play. And to make things more interesting, while an execution starts downstream, a newer set of contractors, subcontractors come into play. And although it's a little too late to put things into a schedule, we start putting things into schedule and start monitoring those projects. And the story kind of continues downstream. We're starting to see mobile as a way of collecting data from the field. We talked about drones, we talked about 360 cameras, etc. So there's no dearth of technology, right? What I think prevents us is the fact that there are fragmented set of stakeholders, and almost in spite of all of this technology, construction is and still tends to be a very paper-intensive industry, right? When we talk about collaboration, it's largely email, Excel, shared pen drives, Z drives, etc. When we talk about controls, Excel rules the roost when it comes to actually managing it. And we really still use human power to collate, assimilate, and pull all this data together and present it to management in the form of dashboards, which is typically PowerPoint. So what am I saying? Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty? Is it twice the size, or do we have less water? Right. What I am saying is that information is still the one thread that needs to connect and flow seamlessly from these people, from these systems, through all of these things. And for that information baton to be moving from process to process, people to people, system to system, stakeholder to stakeholder, anything that enables it, anything that makes it happen, means that you're on the right path to digitalization, you're on the right path to realizing efficiency. The challenges, of course, is, just to summarize, is that, like I said, it is a fragmented ecosystem of stakeholders, and that's not going away. So let's accept it, adopt it, there's nothing you can do about it. And the relationship between these people during that project delivery phase is very transient, right? They don't have any economic incentive to sort of share information. And there's a lack of collaborative culture, which means technology is going to be enabling, or it has to be an enabler to make this thing work. And for technology to work, you need to sort of, what was lacking maybe until very recently, is the lack of interoperability and the fact that you were still sort of moving files rather than information, rather than data. So while we are at the cusp of what we call as Industry 4.0 or Construction 4.0 and all that, we're saying we're still talking about a common data environment, which I'm saying is like a digital kitchen sink. You put everything digitally, you have not achieved a lot, right? What you really need is what I call as an intelligent but a connected data environment, where you're able to answer what is the impact of time and cost to an entity of information coming or not coming in this sort of stakeholder of information, stakeholders of consultants, contractors, PMCs, and owner working and operating with multiple systems. And that's really what I'm saying will help you have that paradigm shift from what I call as digitization to digitalization, right? From having information to having insights, to be able to use that information. And that is really what we're saying. Digitalization in that sense not only helps with having information digitally, but the important thing I'd like to point out is more importantly, it helps you course correct the project midstream. All the CXOs sitting here, and you can question them, are looking to ultimately answer one simple question. Is my project going to get done on time and within budget without compromising safety and quality? And that's the purpose of all the technologies that we're putting in place. That's all we're talking about in terms of trying to get all of these projects done. So in a sense, what I'm saying is that information needs to move seamlessly, and that requires an information bus, if you want to think about it. A colleague of mine that showed this slide in the morning, so I thought reiterating would make a lot of sense. So what you need is as information flows, rather than using human beings, we use processes, we use systems, and we use automation to move that information through that life cycle, right? And that is when you realize that vision is when I'm saying you will have that digital twin, that scalability, that ROI that digitization is looking to bring, right? So, makes sense, Kalyan? So what, right? To put this in a little bit of a contextual sense, I'm just going to run a typical case study. Hopefully, there are owners here, there are consultants here, there are contractors here. So hopefully, some of you will relate to it. If you look at a typical project site, right? Schedules are created in scheduling systems. BOQs are created in ERP systems. You have quality inspections happening manually. Mobiles, WhatsApp messages, Excel spreadsheets rules the roost when it coming, giving daily progress. Hindrances are managed off the systems in, like I said, Excel spreadsheets and other mechanisms. MIS reports are generated manually. Really, we are using an overloaded mechanism to manage and monitor all our projects. And this is still what I call state of the art when it comes to project controls, and I'm happy to be challenged on this, right? The impact of this is well known. I'm not going to belabor the process here. So what we're saying is what you need, like I said, is that information bus, is that bidirectional interoperability with your existing systems that allows you to bring your schedules and costs together into an information platform, that more importantly allows you to capture all the other thing that tends to derail the schedule, whether it is hindrances, issues, documents, misaligned procurement, misaligned engineering, to be understood, to be appreciated, to be alerted, so that you get those forewarnings, so to speak, so that when the field gives you information, it can be written back into your source systems, and you can use this to automate all of your MIS reports. This would be the dream that would help you realize your ROIs from your digitization experiences. So I'll skip that, I think in the interest of time. But so the point is, when you get that, then you sort of get all of your reports automated, you get all of your MIS reports automated, you get your earned value metrics, and a lot of the outcomes that our users are seeing as a result of this is that, irrespective of what stakeholder you are, irrespective of what process you're responsible for in the project, you're able to you go to one platform to give and get information. You're able to improve your productivity, and you're able to sort of your MIS reports, or you're even able to do invoice reconciliation within a 5% variation. You're able to, of course, go paperless, and I hate Excel, for the record, only because it just creates additional information silos. And we've been able to eliminate Excel silos from the field. We've been, of course, able to digitize all of this, but more important than the digitization is the connection or the connected data environment that I'm talking about, wherein I take an RFI from the field, connect it to an entity of my schedule, which is physical progress, connect it to a quantity of progress, which is my financial progress, connect it to an element in my model, which is my 3D progress. So I sort of get that 5D virtual progress without any data entry duplication, to the point wherein when my contractor's field engineer approves the RFI, my MD sees the progress with no information latency, right? That means that I'm able to reduce the risk, improve the governance, and all of these are the value metrics that you will see as a result of this. Clients of ours have won digitization, digital transformation awards for doing this. We have experience doing this across, all kinds of rail, road, metro, water. I know we're going to have some discussions on road, rail, and metro. So hopefully some of these topics can come up for discussion, and we can talk about the ROIs that users are expecting out of digitalization, right? So these are some of site photos where we have deployed the Bentley solution across the world. So in summary, what I'm saying is that what you need in order to realize that digitalization value is that you need the right blend of SOPs, which allows people to sort of create an environment that is conducive for information sharing, creates the standards that allows for interoperability of information, and have technology that is built on open interoperability that allows you to make sure that field data comes to management without any information latency. So that is the building blocks of digitalization. I will re-emphasize the process enablers. I will re-emphasize the need for creating an ecosystem that allows people to sort of collaborate better so that you can get better outcomes out of the technology that you have deployed. So digitalization in order to accelerate project delivery means that it has to be integrated so that all your systems are sort of connected. It has to be mobile because construction in general happens at site and it's not going to happen at your head offices. It has to be collaborative in the sense that both my internal as well as my external stakeholders have one platform to give and get information. It has to be interoperable because there is not going to be a single system for all of your project controls. And it has to be connected in the sense that, like I said, if you're able to have one piece of data entered, multiple people should be able to give and retrieve it without any data entry duplication. Visual, because we as human beings like to see all of this visually. Analytical in the sense that once you get the data, you can sort of use the insights that come out of it to, again, like I said, answer simple questions. Is my project going to get done on time and within budget without compromising safety and quality? So in summary, so what we need is a right-sized approach to digitalization, which has the right blend of technology, right blend of stakeholder management, right enabling SOPs and enabling policies to make sure that you realize the benefits and ROIs out of digitalization. And that alone, we believe, will let you accelerate project delivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, I once again request Ms. Rushali to kindly do the honors of presenting a memento to our eminent speaker. Thank you, sir, for that wonderful presentation we had from you. And ladies and gentlemen, now to take a quick look on what's new, may I invite Mr. Sergio Guerra, Director and CEO, Fort SEM. Let's put our hands together for him.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sergio Guerra, CEO and Director of Fort SEM. We are a young company. Research and development has taken approximately 5 years for us to develop a product that would meet world standards, including trying to help the ecology with greenhouse gases. As you see there, Fort SEM Advancing Materials Technology, we are a product. Sorry, press that one. Okay, thank you. We are a product that does not use Portland cement, and by the use of our proprietary technology and using fly ash, which is readily available in India and around the world generally, we can make a concrete that far exceeds anything that Portland cement is able to achieve currently. The technology that we have, excuse me, quickly, just the amount of cement required around the world is short. The volumes are less than what's actually required worldwide, and certainly that's the case in India. Green is the way that the world seems to be going, and our product is fully green. We have a product that is a simple formulation made from current industry compounds. We utilise industry waste product, which is the fly ash. We outperform Portland cement on all metrics. We create a green cement with a near carbon neutrality, and the reason we're not fully carbon neutral is because we might require a truck with a diesel motor in it to deliver the product from one area to another. We don't have any additional admixtures requirements. We can be formulated for unique cases, and the technology is proprietary and only belongs with us and nobody else has it. We are cost competitive with Portland cement, and in many cases are well less than what Portland cement is charged. This has gone out of line a bit, but if you can see here that we can design our product for any number of types of cement that might be needed in any sorts of different applications. We can design our mix that it is able to set within a very short time or even a very long time, exceeding 8 hours, so that if you're required to go from point A to point B, which is longer than the 90 minutes required that Portland requires for a ready mix, we can go much further. The heat of hydration is less than 60 degrees Kelvin, and as you can see, Portland is certainly over that. We can set from below 0 to over 55 degrees. Portland cement at less than 4 degrees has major problems, which means effectively we can work all year round with our product. And if you see the number there, that's not a mistake. That 20,000 PSI represents approximately 135 MPa, which we can deliver, as opposed to a maximum with Portland without the additional mixtures of 9,000 PSI, which is roughly 62 MPa. This basically shows the chemical characteristics of our product. We don't have any excess calcium hydroxide. There's no burn potential with our product. We are self-binding, and we actually will bind with anything else we're applied to, whether it's bitumen, Portland cement, Portland concrete rather, or many other products. So we don't need to have the addition of any glues or binders that you might need. If you're pouring perhaps 2 slabs of Portland, one today and one tomorrow, you'll have to do a whole lot of preparatory work to put some binder with it. We can just keep pouring and it will bind to itself. We're resistant to alkali silica reactions. We do not have alkali carbonate reactions, and we are resistant to high temperatures. In fact, we've done testing ourselves where with a blowtorch we can exceed 1,200 degrees Celsius with no with very little heat transfer through the mass that we've been heating. And we're anti-corrosive, and the reason that is because we're using the fly ash, which is very, very fine particles, much finer than the particles used created by generating cement. And at that point, we don't have water can't permeate into our product. What we have is a system where, by the use of 95% of fly ash and 5% of our proprietary chemicals, we can bind that, make the chemicals bind that fly ash, and whatever else you put into the product, sand, screenings, also become tied into the chemical reaction of the process. So you don't actually have what Portland does, bind the product in a mass. We actually have a chemical reaction that they actually become as one. So the strengths that we can generate are much, much higher than what is available. Time's up, I've got to go. We're green, as I said before. The sources of our products, the proprietary chemicals, can be sourced locally. And just to finish off, we can double the strength of Portland in 24 hours. We're 50% higher in strength in 7 days. For European standards and American, we can meet the 28-day design requirements in 7 days. That way, formwork, etc., can be removed well before what's required for Portland. And time, labour, cost savings reduces the cost of each project. And time's up. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And I would once again invite Mr. Shali to do the honors of presenting a token of appreciation to our eminent speaker, Mr. Sergio, his director and CEO, Fortsem. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that quick pick. And ladies and gentlemen, after that quick pick, we now move to the Fireside Chat, the first one of the summit, which is on the topic of the metro story, use of path-breaking technology, where we will witness the leaders talk about the experience with the technology while executing current projects and plan for the future. For this Fireside Chat, I would like to invite our distinguished moderator, Mr. Puneet Narang, partner KPMG. So let's put our hands together to welcome him. He has 18 plus years of experience in advisory in capital projects with the focus on infrastructure. A very warm welcome to you, sir. And eminent panelists for the Fireside Chat, I would like to invite Mr. Keshav Kumar, former Managing Director, UP Metro Rail Corporation. He is also popularly known as the Metro Man of Uttar Pradesh. So please put your hands together to welcome him. And may I invite Mr. Naresh Gurbani, Executive Director, Projects, Maharashtra Metro Rail Corporation, the Maha Metro, has successfully implemented multiple projects of Indian Railways, ranging from railways embankment tracks, bridges, buildings, development of passenger and goods terminal rail links. So ladies and gentlemen, with those words, I hand over to our moderator. Over to you, sir. May I remind you, you have 30 minutes for this session.
Excellent. So how many of you in the room here have traveled from outside Delhi or NCR to be a part of this meeting? A quick show of hands. So I'm seeing about 15-20%, a fifth of the audience over here. The rest, I believe, live in NCR. The question to the others, how many of you take the metro on a daily basis? A show of hands. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hands. Okay. So I think that's important to set the context on what we want to discuss. In the last 30 seconds, I've gotten a pulse of where this session could probably go from here. And thanks to Kalyan and Sergio, who've set a good base for us after lunch, so I don't need to worry about that. I've got two very extinguished, guests with me who've done work in the industry, and I was chatting with them at lunch, and I've already picked up some very good lessons to take away from. I will try and keep the next 25 minutes interactive while I'll set the context and a background, and I'll quickly bring both of them in. I would encourage you to use that little notepad and write if you have any questions, because towards the end, for the 5 to 7 minutes, I would want those of you who don't take a metro at least to start thinking, what will it take for you to start taking the metro? Because it's existential for us, for our next generations, if I may call it like that. So with that, let me quickly jump in. I think India, where we stand today, is at the cusp, and I'm sure you've heard that 10 times since morning, but important for me to reiterate because I think we are soon going to be beating China with our population, and more than 50% of that is going to be living in the cities. So by 2047, imagine 80 crore people living in the cities. I don't think our roads, however fast we build them, or the cities can sustain that kind of pressure. So it's very important that how we move people and goods, and this is more about people, metros, becomes efficient, becomes user-friendly. We want to do that. It should not be a block in our minds, because that's the shift we need to make. You know, in 2004-5, I remember, well, God was kind, I spent about 4 or 5 years in the US. DMRC here was inaugurating the Yellow Line, I think December, and New York was completing 100 years of its metro rail over there. So that's the shift that one could see. But with that said, I think in the last 15 to 18 years, we have begun to make a big shift. And that's why we are in that golden period, if I may call it that, the Goldilocks period. Because the next 5 to 10 years will be very, very critical. And the lessons we're going to hear from my panelists here will be very important. So technology in building and operating metros. Mr. Keshav Kumar, let me start with you, sir. I think having built the Lucknow Metro and then the Kanpur Metro, the lessons there are something which the country and maybe the globe could take away from. In a country like India, where infrastructure building is the big thrust, we built the Lucknow Metro in 4 years, and when I was talking to him, he was telling me exactly how many days and months it was over. Typically, you're used to hearing delays of years and more. He was on the months and days. And then, what better, he did the Kanpur Metro in a little over 2 years. Now, building a new metro system in India in 24, 25 months is quite a feat. So my question to you, Mr. Kumar, is what are some of the learnings that you had during that process so that we are able to extract from there some key essence which this group can take away, and maybe we could institutionalize some of these things for the other metros that are going to be built in the country. Mr. Keshav Kumar.
Thank you, Puneet. First of all, thank you very much for appreciating Lucknow and Kanpur projects. I was earlier associated with Delhi Metro, so I'm very proud of that in Delhi Metro also. Few learnings which you wanted to know, how exactly we have done these projects. Lucknow we did 36 days ahead of schedule. A new city. These are old cities where many of the technologies are not available. Designers are not available. Construction industry is not fully geared up. So what we did, one learning was basically to bring everybody on board very fast decision making, and deeply involved in their working. So practically most of the activities which otherwise go in a serial schedule, we brought them on the parallel side. And more prefabrication in the construction, civil construction. So I have got a twin U-girder viaduct design where only piers were being constructed in the ground. Otherwise, everything else was prefabricated. And I was just listening about cementitious material which he was presenting. So I will come to you, sir, later on how it can be done later. And so we adopted that. And most of the stations are nearly prefabricated, concrete buildings. That is not only the civil part, metros are nearly 50% is the systems. And most difficult one is the rolling stock and the signaling, which is a very complicated one. We were the first in the country to go for an integrated rolling stock and signaling contract. So Alstom were our partner. And that's how we could deliver a train only in 65 months. And immediately started the testing and commissioning because it was integrated contract of Alstom rolling stock and signaling as one. So all those interface issues were taken care of in a better manner. Same we did for Kanpur also. That is another thing which I did. And designs, more and more simplification of designs, more and more adoption of standardization in our working. So Lucknow we did in 4.5 years, and Kanpur we did in 2 years, 1.5 months. So my feeling is, learning is this, that we should interact with the industry very properly, consultants, very closely with them, evolve a strategy, how to do it fast, and then industry will ultimately deliver it. I have got that much confidence on the industry. Only thing we have to facilitate and be a little proactive in adopting it.
Excellent. So industry can deliver, but two takeaways that I hear from what you mentioned is standardization in design. Because if you're able to standardize design, you can reduce the variability. And a lot of our problem is because we are a very fragmented construction supply chain industry in our country. Every contractor is going to do his own design, his own shop drawings. I don't think the manufacturing side can cater to that. When you go, buy a car, you know that the wheels come with a particular diameter. You can get that any country. But if you're building a metro, will you get, apart from the coaches and the rolling stock, will you get the rest which is standardized also? Here, without naming projects, I know that different piers, pile caps, each need to be designed differently. Yes, there are nuances of geotechnical, soil foundation and different types, but I think beyond the point, that standardization is very, very important. So good takeaway. And the second, you also mentioned about, the operations, because it's not just building the asset, but running the asset across the lifeline. So keeping in mind the life cycle operation of the particular asset, and in this case, the metro, and being ready for it. And of course, lead times matter. So 24 months, plus 1.5 month, I think that's quite a feat. So excellent. I will come back to you with a couple more questions on this, Mr. Kumar, Mr. Kumar Keshav. Thank you so much. Let me come to you, Mr. Naresh Gurbani. I think the work that you have done in Nagpur, we all know how important that city is, given what we hear, most of the Indians, when you look at your Honorable Minister Gadkariji's work that's happening, and you come from that place. So what are one or two things that you would like to highlight? And if I were to lay a context, let me ask you about, while technology is going to be an enabler, but in the long run, the end user experience, what we are, going to make this long-term sustainable, and in a world which is waking up to root shocks of climate change and, the decarbonization agenda, what is it that you've done with Nagpur Metro that you would like to touch upon? One or 2 points, Mr. Gurbani.
Thank you, Mr. Narang. Basically, we pride ourselves in saying that Nagpur Metro is a very green metro. Basically, we have taken a lot of green initiatives basically to have the least of carbon footprint. We have our total requirement of electricity, we are taking 65% as is from our solar we are generating. We have got all solar panels on all the station buildings, and even on the boundary walls of our at-grade section, we have got the solar panels installed. So that energy, solar energy is utilized for our operations. Then we have got all water, is 100% recycling is there. We have got DRDO technology, they have patented biodigesters. It's anaerobic action-based biodigesters are there, where all the waste treatment is basically, there is no effluent. All the effluent is basically recycled and used as a water in the toilets and for forestry purposes. So that is another thing. Then we have got 100% rainwater harvesting. All our station buildings, all water is collected and rainwater harvesting pits are there. Even viaducts, though at median level, we have got the pits are there. So we are doing all that rainwater harvesting. Then one more important thing, no, recently we got the India Book of Records for that. We have got multi-layer transport system. Two bridges are there, double-decker bridges are there. There we have got 3-layer, in the bridge which we commissioned 2 years back. It's a 3-layer transport system. It is a national highway basically. And then over that, the alignment of metro was coming. And then the flyover was also planned in that way, at that place. So 3-4 years back, Gadkari ji, Honorable Minister, had a meeting with our MD, and it was decided to use the same common right-of-way. So on that same road, on the same common pillar, we have got the flyover on the second level, and the metro is on the third level. So using a lot of saving, 15-20% saving was effected by using the same pier on that. Another 5-kilometer bridge is similar is coming up. So all these measures we are doing, which can be replicated by future metros in our future.
I think these are some very important lessons, because I remember, some of the other senior leaders of the metros that have been built. I remember talking to Mr. Srinivasan, who was involved in the TVS Somanathan, who's a secretary now for the Chennai metro. And then somebody who we work closely with, Elias George, who was the head of Kochi metro. And I think both of them had mentioned challenges around urban right-of-way, because metros, we aren't, of course, we're going to build new greenfield cities also. But unlike the US, more like the European side, the Indian cities are also age-old cities. And it is very important to retain that fabric in the city. And this, this design of being able to use the same right-of-way to have a triple, 3 layers of circulation, both, first 2 for vehicular, ground for pedestrian also, and then the third for metro. I think it's something that all of you must spend a few minutes just looking it up and relaying back to your, to the design side, to your organizations, and make a difference. I think that's a great example, Mr. Gurbani. Let me, shift and try and converge a little bit more towards the topic at hand and what both of you touched upon. What would you suggest as 1 or 2 improvements, or if I may say, challenges with our current level of technology adoption in the projects that you've been involved with? We all know, it's difficult to change behaviors. We are all now used to of hailing a cab using Uber or ordering, our homes work on Instamart and Swiggy on a regular basis. Is technology really amenable, and what will it take for it to become, get adopted at a mass scale and level? What are some of the challenges according to you?
Some of the technology which has already come into in civil construction, I can share with you. Now it is possible that each transit mixture, each of the batching plant which produces the concrete can be very easily monitored, sitting at far away, maybe in Chennai and working in Lucknow. That's how L&T was doing my work. So this is already possible. But as you rightly said, that right now we are still not able to come out of a mindset which I want to change. Basically because all the big contractor industries are here, and whenever a contract is awarded to them for the same component, each contractor tries to set up his own manufacturing unit at site, which can be avoided. A better supply chain management, better digitalization of their components, from where they are coming, when do they need it, and setting up industries which can do this type of works for them, prefabrication. Which I have seen in Bangkok. There was a company, and I'm forgetting the name of that company, and they were doing exactly the same. That was only an industry for fabricating precast segments for the bridges and the metros. So only thing is standardized design has to be given. They will produce, and with a complete supply chain arrangement, it is flowing to different parts of the same city or different parts of the adjoining cities. And that's how the works progress very fast. And technology, I will say that technology is a great enabler. rate of return on technology investment is very high. Initially, we may feel that it is costlier, but probably not. And I was talking to Puneet before the lunch time. I was just saying that you withdraw money from ATM, immediately it comes to you. You can give even an OTP comes to you. When money exchange can be so efficiently done, how the segments and precast members or electrical components or the substations, electrical substations which are being constructed, why those cannot be monitored so easily, and real execution at site probably is not required. So those type of things have to be done. That's what I feel.
Excellent, excellent. I think, while they say consultants have this ability to put it into complex words, but I'll try and simplify this. Because if your supply chain can be standardized, basically your execution and construction does not just happen at the project site anymore. The backward integration, if you're able to get standardization in the design and are able to mass produce at one place, and of course it will mean getting the contractor ecosystem and certain policies to be defined, and I know that the thrust is there from the government side, definitely. Once you're able to standardize the design, then you can monitor, track, and hasten the entire process also. Then technology is available, whether RFID or any other mechanism whereby you're able to pinpoint exactly where my certain members are of the viaduct or which part they are held up in. But it will require a shift from our current way of working. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Let me ask you, Mr. Gurbani, from a technology point of view, what do you think are one or two things? And I know you mentioned that you're, in previously, maybe not your role, I know Nagpur Metro was pretty effective and one of the first metro projects in the country to start using 5D and BIM very effectively. But from your experience, what do you think are one or two things that you would like to touch upon?
Mainly, basically to increase the pace of a project, we have got a huge shortage of skilled manpower today. In all construction industry, in everywhere, metro industry is not an exception. Everywhere there is a huge problem of skilled manpower. So that is a separate subject, skilling the manpower, and that skilled mission is also there at central government level. Everything is being done. So that's why to cater to that shortage, we had to go for more and more of mechanization in every field, basically. And the mechanization is occurring, is happening. We have got large capacity cranes, we have got large and huge man lifters where we don't have to put stagings now. And then even for plastering and all these things, the innovations are small innovations are being done by everybody, not in metro industry, even for complete construction industry. So mechanization is one thing which has to increase in a substantial way. And then lot of products should be, elements have to be precast. So precast elements, we have not used PR caps as precast, but now PR caps we had planned in our second phase to be precast, and more and more elements should be precast, so that it increases the quality of the product. It increases the basically pace of product. It's a factory product. You can do anytime, 24 hours the production can be there. And at the site, when we don't do the execution, so safety is increased, discomfort to the people using the road, there is no discomfort. All these things will improve this. And another in track, for the construction of track, I was looking after the track portion of the whole metro project. We are doing this cast in situ track plinths, track slab plinths that we are constructing, they are cast in situ. So, and we had done 400 meters some epi-track technology, construction was done, which was mechanized. So, in future, all construction can be mechanized at site, or even precast plinths are also being used. In Delhi Metro, some portion has been done with precast plinths. So these things will basically must be done in future to increase the speed as well as.
Thank you, Naresh. I think important point you touched upon, that once we get into a standardized design and more prefabrication, the ability to execute will get hampered if I don't have skilled manpower, which is used to of those changed methods of construction. So we know the shortage of labor, but more on the skilled labor, on crane operators, on mechanized erection procedures. So the training around that becomes equally important, so that our capacity to execute and deliver such large infrastructure projects does not get a bottleneck at the end. So taking into account, the point Mr. Keshav, you touched around standardizing the supply chain, but then the human element cannot be disregarded over here. So excellent call out, Mr. Gurbani there. I know we are about 8-9 minutes to go. So my one last question, and either of you could take it. And first I will come to Mr. Keshav specifically. Congratulations on your shift and on your new role with Deutsche Bahn. Why did you make this move from projects, which you are a projects man, you were talking, to O&M now? That's to you, and you can respond. And then, Mr. Gurbani, I'll also leave the last question for you. What is that one thing that you would like to change, from the contractor ecosystem, which could help what we want to achieve going forward? So 2 questions in that order. And then all of you should have been making your notes, because we want to open it up for questions also towards the last 5 minutes. Mr. Keshav.
This is not exactly the shift, intentional shift to some extent, you can say. Because I have been in construction industry for nearly 39 years. I have done the work, and we all understand in a life cycle the project capital cost is hardly 40%. 60% is operation and maintenance. I have been doing operation and maintenance for Lucknow, Delhi, and Kanpur also. But my view was that somehow metros have to be made financially sustainable to operate. So I've come to DB on this side, Deutsche Bahn, recently, only 6 days back, and this is for operation and maintenance of Delhi Meerut, the first RRTS corridor, which is going to be constructed, which is under construction, and we will start operation by the end of this year on a small 17-kilometer stretch. So I have come with basically to learn this whole very scientific way of operating and maintaining a metro or rail system. So ultimately, so that this can spread to other metros. That was my idea. Nothing else, and it is a wonderful organization which I have joined, but I will not be able to speak much because I'm only 6 days old there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Keshav. I think for all of you, the final experience of using the metro is something that this phase of yours should come into play, especially the NCR residents. Mr. Gurbani.
Yeah. Mr. Narang, I didn't follow contractor ecosystem. What
Contractor ecosystem. So one change that you would ask the contractor ecosystem to make in adopting technology for executing metro projects. Well, and we did touch upon skilling and supply chain, and I know making it tough for you, but it's perfectly all right if you...
Yeah, basically all the basically contractors, they are now adapting to the new technologies. They are already doing it, but doing more and more on these systems of ID, BIM and all, basically makes the monitoring of projects to control the time overruns and cost overruns easy if they adapt to these new technologies. Now, today morning also we are listening, a lot of drones have to be used, so to basically to avoid confusions or misreporting sometimes or underreportings. And then this digitalization and using the softwares for monitoring of projects.
Excellent. I think some of the best answers kind of come out of our gut when we are, so you mentioned use of drones. Yes, I think, so basically being able to visualize the problems and bring them out and solve them, and quick adoption by the contractor community to digitalize will be an important suggestion. Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Gurbani. We are left with 5 minutes. And I would like to open it up for questions. I hope the fireside chat has kept you up and not... any questions? Okay, there's one over there, sir. So maybe quick introduction from yourself, and then who would you like to ask the question to?
I have a question for Keshav sir. While doing this, since it was a linear project, so did you use any of your BIM technology in project management?
In Lucknow Metro, we used the 3D BIM. We could not go to the cost and the time at this stage. So We have used 3D BIM basically to understand those conflict points in the designs and executions. So Kanpur also we have extended the same, so, but 5D is little far. So that's what we have done.
One more question. When we are doing so much of large capexes, what is being done for health monitoring of these structures for future maintenance and other things? If anything has been incorporated in the design phase itself and you are doing some health monitoring, structural health monitoring and using technologies?
For civil structures, if we leave and we come to the systems, for example, I can give you a very clear example. In overhead traction, when trains are moving and through the pantograph, we have put the camera on each of the train and continuous recording of the health of the overhead traction. So you may understand that Lucknow, the old city, has got the kite flying as a hobby. So some of the strands get broken. So exact location where strands have broken, how many strands have broken, this is immediately identified. So this is we have done. In rolling stock, we have done another good thing, that now rolling stock, we are switching over from preventive towards predictive. I will not say 100% predictive is a dream. But now all the defects in the train operations are identified. Even job cards are created before the train arrives in the site. So that much we have done already. Thank you.
Good question. I think so. 3D has been attempted, 5D aayega, and then clearly on the technology side, adoption with overhead traction and use of pantographs. Any other question?
I'm Atasidas from GR Infra Projects. My question is to Mr. Naresh. You had mentioned about the green technology used for Nagpur Metro and the carbon credits. I mean, was there any incentive given by the government for using in terms of carbon credit?
Was there any incentive given by the government? Was there any incentivization for going green on your project, essentially?
Yes.
This incentive, basically, I'm not aware. I'll come back to that.
That's where even for our highway projects, there is no incentive from the NHAI or from ministry in terms of carbon saving, carbon credit saving that we are getting. So I thought that maybe for metros, if there is anything.
No, though, if you're not got, no, we'll pursue that and we'll get it.
Yeah. True, sir.
I can briefly answer. In Delhi Metro projects, when we were doing, we got the carbon credits for that. And that was a big thing in Delhi Metro. And even on regenerative braking of the trains, we got the carbon credits.
Yes, that's what I knew that from Delhi Metro. So
Delhi
for
Metro, we
Nagpur
had done
Metro,
that.
it definitely should have come. That's
Okay,
what
so
my question
that's what
was.
I just thought I will mention.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. And I would want, you said Vasudha from GR Infra, right? If you can pass the mic to my colleague right there, because we are working on some of these aspects around climate change and decarbonization, and especially incentivization. Yash?
Yes, I have a different question for Mr. Kumar, actually, if I can ask.
But you got to help with that response later. You got to promise us that.
After the session. So Mr. Kumar, I'm Yash from KPMG. We met last year also in UP Metro. I think what you said that, from Lucknow Metro, the learnings were taken from, Lucknow to Kanpur Metro, leveraging the 3D BIM environment and so on. But still, if you look at a metro as a project, there are so many moving parts. I mean, you have the general consultant, you have the engineering consultant, the contractors, and you going ahead with the strategy of precast and prefabrication. It's a massive task to actually manage the entire engineering across this, different set of stakeholders. So, any thoughts that you can share with us? How did you manage this? Because I believe that there was no common data platform or a common data environment to have a design collaboration amongst all these people. So how did you manage that?
I can only say I was in a battlefield in Lucknow, and I was in the war front when Kanpur Metro project came. So how we manage, I will not be able to answer you this at this moment, but I can dream about it, how I did it. And probably I will also not be able to put it correctly. But the fact is that I was very open all the time. General consultants were there, design consultants were there, contractors were there, and my own team. We used to meet very regularly, almost every 3 days basis, you can see, and keep on resolving those issues. That's what I said initially, that as a client, I have to only facilitate. I have to resolve those issues. Technical issues, nothing should be held up. And I used to say that a single day delay in Lucknow Metro at that time I had worked out was costing me 55 lakhs of rupees. So I was so particular that if any decision gets delayed, now you understand how much loss has already happened. So when I did 36 days ahead of schedule, I had already earned 18 crores of rupees. That's what I worked out. So that was in back of my mind, but I do agree it should be done in a more professional way, which I could not do.
No, I think, yes. I know our time is up, so please have your questions and you could, we could address them and take them later. With that, I'll only end on one note, the last question, that projects are also like battlefield and war, and project leadership is all about being able to bring these questions out, the culture that you build, and execute these projects in a way. Thank you so much for the questions. I know that most of you were awake at the end of it. And thank you so much, Mr. Keshav and Mr. Gurbani, for a wonderful session and taking us through this. And for all of you for being a nice audience. Thank you. Thank you.
We present to our distinguished moderator, Mr. Puneet Narang. To Mr. Kumar Keshav, we are doing the honors first. To Mr. Naresh Gurbani. Thank you very much indeed, sir. And to finally our moderator who handled this panel discussion, actually the Fireside Chat, very efficiently and interestingly. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rushali, for doing the honors. Can we have a group photograph of the panel?